That's where Ukrainian peasants, that's where the Ukrainians lived. The Ukrainians were a rural people at this time, and until the middle, well, not the middle, but until the 1920s, when they were mobilized into the factories, for the first 5-year plan, the Ukrainians were a peasant people. The cities in Ukraine were Russian and Jewish, or Russian and Jewish and some Polish, and even Yuzovka, when it was founded, they didn't attract peasants from the Ukraine. The peasants in the Ukraine wanted to remain on the land. The land was theirs. There was very little serfdom in Ukraine, and the land was theirs, and they liked having their own land. And they, even though the peasant life was very hard and very poor, they preferred that to the cities. The workers of the Ukraine, the labor force, were peasants particularly from more northern regions in Russia, who in the winter came down to find work. Some of them worked on the grain growing that was beginning after the 1840s, but many of them were recruited into the mines and the factories, and eventually, instead of going back to their village for the sowing and for the harvest, they remained as workers in the industrial development of the Ukraine. So what you had was a Ukrainian nation that was rural on the land, and Russian immigrants in the cities. This is the root of the conflict that you have today. The cities and industrial developments were not Ukrainian in nature. They were Russian. Even though they were in the Ukraine, part of the Ukraine, they were peopled by Russians or by Jews. In 1917, when the city was already well established, you find that the largest ethnic group are Russians. After them come the Jews, and then come the Ukrainians, and then Poles and Belarusians, and a whole mixture, everything, Greeks and Armenians and what have you. This is the root of the conflict that is so painful to the Ukraine today.